Welcome to the February CapMac Users Group meeting, and I'll mention here, and I'll mention it again, but we have visitors with us from the St. Louis MUG as well again this month. In addition to that, let me ask later. Let me go ahead and just talk a little bit. We have ways of you following us, and they're here, they're in the email, numerous ways to keep up with what's going on. What we have for tonight is, as I mentioned, a joint meeting with Gateway Area Macintosh Users Group. Glen House, who presented last week, will give his Glen's Goodies presentation again tonight. Koki Craig is going to talk about the Capsule app, and then our primary speaker, Dave Hamilton, is going to give us a recap of CES. Let me move on so we can get to there. The board meets the first Wednesday of every month. There are the officers listed, and I'm going to get photos to add to this at one point, but I think everyone here knows what everyone looks like. It's the same group for the most part that's been with us for a while, with the exception of Ton Morris joining us for this year. We have a number of appointed positions. Those listed in green have told me they want to do it again for 2024. I haven't heard from those in white yet. I'll be pestering you to find out whether you want to come back and continue in that job. I am still looking for someone who can lead the effort to kind of help document the history of CapMac and talk to some of the older members. If you're interested, let me know so we can get you on board doing that. One of the things over the past few months is we've had a number of visitors here, and we've been missing having anything to really pitch to them why they should become a member of CapMac. So I put a couple of slides together here to address that. One thing, your funds that come from membership fees go towards CapMac expenses. The net domain name, website registration. Most importantly, for what we're doing tonight right now is our subscription to a Zoom account. You get access to discounts. We have the annual picnic and door prizes as things that are covered by the expenses. And then the benefits are taking advantage of some of those things. And what are our dues? Well, they're fairly simple. Standard membership, $36. Student or educator, first responder, military or veterans, $24 a year. And we do have a program for those who are unemployed and looking to help them out for a brief period of time. If you have any interest in that, there's a link on the website to go. I please ask any visitors to consider joining CapMac. We love having you here, but your joining CapMac helps to continue the programs that we have. Just as a reminder, we do or have been recording these meetings on Zoom for what, 3+ years now, almost 4. So we have a backlog of programs in our YouTube channel. So if you want to go back and see a prior program, you can easily do that. We have do the help desk. We had some discussion tonight. We always try at our meetings to spend the first half hour of unrecorded time from 6:30 to 7 to try to address en masse any questions, technical questions that are brought up. And there's usually a lot to learn there. Jill Fraser is still wanting to try to do a women SIG meeting of some kind. If you are interested, please contact her so that she can start pulling together those of like mind to have a program. Newsletter, I haven't got one out yet, but it will be coming out. I'll be attaching it to the email that addresses the Coffee with CapMac in about 2 weeks. So you should see it then. The others are still available and can be downloaded. News of interest is pretty limited. I haven't been pulling many things lately. The most things that most people are interested in in are these discounts that are available to any mug user at any mug in the world. The thing is, there's a discount code you have to get, and I'm the custodian of that for the moment for us. So if you want to take advantage of any of these discounts, send me an email and I can let you have that information. The last thing before I turn this over to Glenn to talk is, do you have any tips or other short topics that you would like to share? We have Glenn talking about some goodies tonight. We have Koki sharing about an app. We encourage at CapMac to get our members to talk about things that are of interest to them, things that they think might be useful or of interest to others. What's a trick that you use all the time? Maybe not others know about it. So sharing that information is very interesting, and it helps getting all of our members participating in the program. Now, that's all I have to say. The only thing I wanted to add, and I've started a couple of times, is to invite any visitors we have tonight, if they're willing, to introduce themselves. And I'll pause while I'm waiting for someone to speak.
John, I've got something free. I've got 2 4-gigabyte memory cards taken from a 2020 iMac. They're Apple. They're in good condition and they work. Any CapMac member that wants them, let me know, please.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Well, since there's
Adam
no...
Harper.
Say again, please.
I think Craig Golston just needs to be muted.
Oh,
Sorry.
not a problem. All right. Well, since there's no visitors who want to introduce themselves, I'm done with my part of this program. So I am going to turn it over to Glenn as soon as I can stop my sharing. There we go. So that he can do his piece on his goodies. Glenn, it's yours.
All right. Well, knowing that we have a guest this evening, I made it very abbreviated. Before I actually started it, though, I want to relate just a real quick story to you all that I had with Apple Care support 2 days ago. Yesterday morning. So I have a series of documents that somebody shared with me, a series of pages, and I was taking a picture of each of them and trying to use live text so I can take them and pull the words off into digital form. Well, I ran into some problems because I found the first 8 pages worked perfectly. Live text was enabled, and then the rest of them would take the picture, but it wouldn't enable live text. And I tried all kinds of workarounds, and finally I decided, you know what, I'm going to call Apple. So I had a conversation with an engineer, and we went round and round and round for a while. And we finally discovered that the difference between the first 8 pages and the next 12 pages was the next 12 pages had just a short amount of text on them. They weren't very full, whereas the first 8 pages covered like most of the page. And for some reason, live text was just deciding that, well, there's not really a lot of text there. We don't need this function. And he was looking it up and had not encountered that before. So he said, let's send this up to the engineers and everything and see if they want to work on this for a future update so who knows, maybe we actually discovered a little flaw in their live text usage and we'll see if that changes. But once I took another sheet of paper and put it like underneath it, so now I have like what looked like a full page of text, it worked again. That's how we discovered it was ignoring a short passage of text with live text. So I thought that was pretty interesting. All right, so let me go ahead and share. Let me find my goodies here. Share this with you guys. All right, everybody seeing that? Okay. I thought this was a nice little portrait there of our Apple leader. So again, I kept these abbreviated just because I know we've got a speaker tonight, but I did want to address a couple things. One was a follow-up actually from something we talked about last month about cables. And the other thing, because it's kind of one of the big new things, is stolen device protection. So with iOS 17.3, we've got a new security feature, and it's stolen device protection. And I'm just going to read this little blurb here I have for you. The stolen device protection feature comes after the Wall Street Journal's Joanna Stern investigated a rise in iPhone thieves in restaurants and bars, with one criminal making as much as $300,000. The attacks were typically carried out by observing victims entering their passcode before stealing their device, changing their Apple ID password, and turning off Find My iPhone to make it impossible to track or wipe remotely. From here, a thief can lock victims out of accounts by using passwords saved to the keychain password manager. So I was going to demonstrate how this works, but instead I found a video to do this. But I edited the video down, but it's about, I think it's like maybe 7 minutes or so. Is that okay? You want me to play this, or is that going to take too long, guys? John Purvis, what do you think?
I had to unmute myself.
Oh.
Is that the gist of your presentation tonight?
Yeah, I had one or two other little blurbs that would take about a minute, but that was basically
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
I think that's fine.
Okay, here we go.
So
then.
let's talk about the headline feature, which is stolen device protection. So if we go to settings and then we go to Face ID and passcode, we enter our passcode, and then we scroll down, we'll see right there, stolen device protection. By default, you see that it is off. So stolen device protection adds another layer of security to your iPhone in two basic ways. Number one, it requires you to use Face ID to access certain settings, such as the ability to change your passcode or the ability to change your Apple ID password, or even disabling stolen device protection itself. The second way it protects you is that even if you were to use Face ID to unlock your phone, if your iPhone is not in a familiar location that your iOS device recognizes, like home or at work, it will institute a 1-hour delay before it gives access to those sensitive areas of your iPhone, such as resetting the passcode or resetting the password. So now let's just walk through stolen device protection, setting it up, and let me show you how it works. So the first thing you want to do is just simply turn the feature on, and you can do that simply by tapping turn on protection, and it's on just like that. Now, if I want to turn off, since I've already authenticated and I'm in a familiar location, I just simply tap turn off protection, and it can verify with either Face ID or your passcode, just like that. So now I'm going to try to change my password with stolen device protection enabled, but keep in mind, I'm now in a familiar location. All right, so I'm going to go to my account settings, go to sign in and security, and then tap where it says change password. Now, I'm not going to look at the Face ID sensor, and you'll see it ask me for my passcode, like normal. But the reason why it allows me to use my passcode is because...
Oop, sorry, guys. I don't know what I did there. Hold on. Let me get, I'm going the wrong way. Let me get this back, and I will get us where we're at.
Where to use Face ID to unlock your phone.
All right, there we go.
Just like that. So now I'm going to try to change my password with stolen device protection enabled, but keep in mind, I'm now in a familiar location. All right, so I'm going to go to my account settings, go to sign in and security, and then tap where it says change password. Now, I'm not going to look at the Face ID sensor, and you'll see it ask me for my passcode, like normal. But the reason why it allows me to use my passcode is because I'm in a familiar location. In previous versions of iOS, it didn't matter where you were, you could use your passcode to access these sensitive areas. And that's a problem because what would happen is that thieves would learn your passcode, they would steal your iPhone, and then they would go in and change your password, change your passcode, etc. So let me show you how with stolen device protection, now your location plays a major part in protecting your phone. So if we go to settings, privacy and security, location services, you'll see all the various applications that have access to your location. And of course, you can globally disable location services. But if we scroll all the way down, what we want to access is system services, because within system services, you'll find something called significant locations. And that includes locations that you frequent often, such as home or work, So your iPhone knows whether or not you're in one of these significant locations. So what we'll show you here is you can see that the iPhone system services is using your location right now to know where you are. So I'm going to go in and actually disable these significant locations. So I'm going to just put my passcode in. You can see I have 120 records, 120 significant locations there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to disable significant locations and then show you the difference when trying to go in and changing your password or your passcode. So let's go ahead and disable significant locations. Select turn off, and now significant locations are disabled. So we keep all the rest of the location access enabled, but just disable significant locations, including frequently accessed places like your home or your work. So we're going to go all the way back, and now we're going to try to change the password again. But the difference is, from the iPhone's perspective, you're no longer in a significant location like work or home. So stolen device protection is going to get a little bit more aggressive here. So I'm going to choose change password, but not look at the Face ID sensor. You can see it's trying to authenticate. Let's try again. And now notice Face ID is required. So it's not going to allow you to use your passcode, which a thief may have stolen, to access sensitive data like being able to change your password or passcode. So the only option, just to tap OK, because from the iPhone's perspective, you're not in a significant location, and it's not going to allow you to access these sensitive areas without using your biometric authentication, in this case, Face ID. But that's not all. Notice what happens when I do use Face ID. So I'm going to tap change password again, but this time I'm going to allow it to see my face and unlock using Face ID. So change password, looking at the sensor. Now you get this security delay required to change password. So even if you use Face ID, if you're not in that familiar location, iOS, in an effort to protect you, will institute a security delay that lasts for 1 hour. And you will still be able to access your phone during this delay, but you're not going to be able to access these sensitive areas like being able to change your password or being able to change your passcode until you're in a familiar location. But what if you try to just go in and disable stolen device protection? Then what? Well, only one way to find out. So let's go back to settings, Face ID and passcode. We'll put our passcode in there, and then we'll scroll down and try to disable stolen device protection. And I'm not in a familiar location now, so I'm not going to allow Face ID to see me. And you're going to see Face ID is required. So this time, just like we did before, I'm going to allow Face ID to see my face. I'm going to try to turn off protection again. And there it is, that 1 hour delay notification. So even if a thief was able to somehow gain access to your biometric data, there's still going to be that 1 hour delay before they can make any changes. But what if I try to turn off the passcode? So I tap it, I don't look at the Face ID sensor, try Face ID again, and I get the same message, Face ID required. This time I'm going to look at the sensor, allow Face ID to authenticate, but bam, yes indeed, same 1 hour security delay. Now, this time I'm going to go ahead and tap where it says start security delay so you can see what happens. So you get a little countdown timer, time remaining. You'll get a notification when the security delay ends. So indeed, after that hour elapses, you'll get a time-sensitive notification that the security delay has ended. It'll link you directly to the area you were trying to access. Now, the thing is, if you go back to your significant location like home, the security delay will actually end earlier and you'll be notified. Let me show you. Now, to simulate this, I'm going to go back to privacy and security and then go back to location services, and then scroll back down to significant or system services first, and then significant locations. Go ahead and authenticate here. And now I'm going to re-enable significant locations, basically simulating me arriving back at home because I'm actually home. And once iOS recognizes this, it'll send you a time-sensitive notification telling you that the security delay has ended. So any second now, we should receive that alert. And there we go. Security delay ended. You can now continue with settings. You tap on that. It'll take you to the settings area that you were trying to access. In this case, Face ID and passcode to disable the passcode. So hopefully that explainer of stolen device protection helps you to understand what the feature does and why it's so useful. But basically, it prevents a thief from learning your passcode and then going in and immediately changing sensitive data like your password. You definitely don't want to do that because that has all sorts of negative repercussions. But not only is this feature useful, iOS 17.3 contains over.
All right. So I hope that was a pretty good explanation of how the stolen device protection works. When I put this in PDF form to share with both CapMac and GAMUG, I'll have the link there to that video if you want to go back and look at that again. I was originally going to demonstrate, but I found that video and I thought he did a pretty good job of explaining that. Just real quick, couple quick things. Last month when we met, we were talking about cables and how you know if they're any good or anything. Well, recently I came across a Consumer Reports study about charging cables, and they did all kinds of testing, and they tested real cheap cables. They tested expensive ones. They've got ones from Amazon Basics and Anchor and Belkin and Apple. And so they did bend tests, twist tests, and they doing all that, they came up with which cables you should buy. And the ones they recommend the most of cables are, number one, the Apple Lightning cable. And obviously, as you would expect, the shorter the cable, the better the cable is usually going to be. And number two, the Amazon Basics USB-C cable, that's only $655 they recommended. So just because we're a little short on time, I won't go into more details about their methodology, but I thought that was an interesting follow-up because we're having a conversation about cables. So I think a couple months ago, you guys might have heard the story in the news about the Alaska Airlines jet that had the door blow out. And there was a iPhone that they found that survived the fall that was from a little over 16,000 feet. And the guy who found it, posted this on his X account, and finding it, and the phone actually survived, and it was actually working. And so, of course, the company that saw this, so I liked Ryan Reynolds' tweet, is that Mint Mobile. He saw that they were using Mint Mobile, of course, never one to miss a marketing opportunity. But then, of course, the company that made the case that was around the phone, it was the Spigen Cryo Armor case. They made sure to put that out that, hey, look, our case, how good it works, that, this thing fell from 16,000 feet and survived. So I thought that was an interesting story that came out of that. And then finally, Apple Vision Pro in the wild. We were talking about Apple Vision here a little while ago, and I think it's kind of funny, some of the pictures that I've been seeing. And I thought this was kind of a funny tweet. It says how Android users would look through an Apple Vision Pro, since sometimes the two systems don't like to play nice together, like with messages. I thought that was kind of humorous. And then this is an actual picture of two people eating out wearing their Apple Vision Pros. Then we had this guy. There was a whole video of him driving with this on, which is a little scary. And finally, I thought this little one was kind of funny. What summer of 2024 will look like with your tan lines from having your Vision Pro on as you're out in the sun. All right, so there you guys have it. Like I said, just my abbreviated Glen's goodies tonight. So there you go.
Well, thank you, Glenn.
Sure.
Any questions for him before we move on to Koki? All right, Koki, you ready to demo that app?
Okay, my doctor recommended the Capsule app, and it's spelled just like the word capsule, CAPSULE. It's a local one, but I think they have capsules all over the United States. And I use it for my monthly prescriptions. Like some of my, well, I can tell you first, that my doctor gave me the information, and it tells you to that Capsules from Austin, and it's 210 West 7th Street, Suite B, Austin, Texas 78701. Phone number is 512-863-5000. You can fax at 512-299-0795. And so you can have your prescriptions transferred, like I did mine, transferred to them from Walgreens. And that's where I had mine transferred from. Okay, I'm trying to get my app to go back where it was. Whoops. They also have a prescription area, an essentials area where you can get just, prescriptions that you might need for the month or the week or whatever, like cold medicines or allergy medicines or things like that. You can also chat with the person that you're going to get your prescriptions from. And then when your prescriptions come available, like my doctor has mine, I can get 3 months worth of prescriptions. So right now it says on one of the prescriptions that I have, it says your medication will be available on Thursday, February 15th. And I got several of those prescriptions coming up. And then it'll say a request for a refill, and we can contact your doctor and my doctor's name for you. The fee for it for me is like $5 because I'm not very far from them, but it might cost a little bit more depending on where you are in the city. I don't know that for sure. That's something that you'd have to talk to Capsule about. But what I really like about it is they do deliver it. It comes right to my door, and I do have to sign for it. So it's really secure. And they also have this, when you get the bag that it comes in, it has this silver strip over it. And so if that silver strip has been broken, you should call them right away and let them know that that silver strip was broken, because that lets you know that the person who delivered got into the medicine. And they'll tell you that too. And so then you sign for it, and then it's yours. And you put in your credit card for it, so you don't have to worry about, having to pay anybody money. And like I said, when my prescriptions are delivered, depending on how many I get, it's usually around $5 for me. And which, for me, that works out really good, because it usually would cost me $10 one way just to go pick up medicine, and then $10 the other way. So it cost me about $20 to go pick up medicine. So this is wonderful for me. There's an area where you can, your prescriptions will, if you're not taking them anymore, like I'm not taking codeine 4 anymore. So I can transfer that out, and I'm not taking my COVID medicine right now. Oh, knock on wood. So I will put that in the archives file, and then if I need them again, I can pull them out and let my doctor know. And then she'll send in the prescription for it. So, and also there's a place down here that that you can send to, or there's a place for here where you can send a note to your other doctors. Since I got it from my primary doctor, I sent the note to my other doctors to let them know that I was going to be using Capsule from now on. And so that's what Capsule does.
Well, thank you, Koki. Does anyone have any questions for her?
Okay, this is
Yes.
John Connor from GAMUG. I have a very brief question owing to the fact that you apparently can't show us the app. Is this for the iPhone or the iPad or for the Mac?
Well, I have it on my iPhone right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, and it's just called Capsule, Capsule, Capsule. And it has two medicines capsules crossed, like a cross.
Does that save you any money over regular prescriptions?
Well, since I use United Healthcare, it goes through my United Healthcare. So it does sometimes, and sometimes on the where you can get other prescriptions like cold medicine or whatever, it might be a little cheaper to get it there as well.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I wish I could have shown it to you because it's really cool.
Well, thank you, Koki. I know you've been waiting to show us that for a while. Well,
Yes.
we've got all the preliminaries done. So Nathan, let me turn this over to you so you can introduce our primary speaker.
So our speaker tonight is Dave Hamilton. He is a podcaster in the Mac Geek Gab Podcast. He is also was the co-founder of the Mac Observer, now acquired, but he has long been a Mac and Apple geek, and please welcome Dave Hamilton to talk about CES.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. Yeah, it's always a pleasure to get to chat with you folks, and I've actually been enjoying learning all the stuff that you folks are teaching me about. So happy to be here, Glenn and Koki. That was really nice.
Hi, Dave.
Howdy.
Art Smith.
It's good to see you, Art. It's been a long time, my friend.
It has been, man.
Wow.
I trust you've been doing well.
Just rocking along. I don't know how to stop. So that's what I keep doing. So
Very good.
yeah. So yeah, we decided, talk a little bit about the fun stuff that we saw at CES and just the gist of CES. That really, in terms of products, CES has become the place to go and see the things that are either just released or will be released later this year, for sure. Macworld Expo obviously doesn't happen anymore. I'm glad that CES does. It's a very different show from Macworld, of course, but there's still, I would say, in the pre-COVID lockdowns, 2019, 2020, the CES attendance would be about 150,000 people. Now, this year last year was kind of empty. I would say it was felt about half full. This year, most of the events that I was at were pretty full. I don't think they've released numbers yet, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it over 100K in terms of the number of people that were there. So which is nice to see. It's it's good that and there were plenty of cool products to see. So I have all kinds of things to talk about. I want to keep this as interactive as possible. So, because I'm used to just talking with nobody speaking back to me. So we get to do it differently here. And so I want to do that. I want questions. If I mention some products and it reminds you of something, let us know, and we'll talk about it, because that's the beauty of these kinds of things. I love getting together and doing all this. I figured I would start with our iPhones, and specifically how we hold them in our hands, because I don't know about you guys, but I don't like having to hold my pinky underneath my phone just to hold my phone up so that I can do whatever it is I'm doing. I like to have a little grip on the back of it. My favorite grip, and I'll explain why, is the pop socket. Now, you can create custom pop sockets, and you'll see that I did. So I've got the little Mac Geek Gab logo on there. pop the pop socket on. MagSafe makes life so much better. And then pull the pop socket out and it holds it up. I don't have any problems with this in my pocket. I know some people do, but I don't. And so I consider myself fortunate on that. The cool part about pop sockets is they come on and off easily with MagSafe. You can also have a pop socket wallet, which of course you can also custom make. And the wallet holds, I don't know, I got like 5 cards in there. I think they say that you're supposed to hold about 3, but I don't know. I put 5 in. So, and it pops right on and everything's good to go. So that is, that's the pop socket. And the custom, I will say that the custom generation of these things is fantastic. I uploaded the Mac Geek Gab logo, and for this one, I told it, make a space thing. It uses some AI image generator. And so it made space around the edge of it. It was great. This is another podcast I do called Gig Gab. So I put the Gig Gab logo up, and then I just told it, make purple instruments that match the purple color of the Gig Gab logo. And that's what it came up with. And so that sits on my thing. So I can turn on a light and maybe that makes, these look a little bit better. Yep. So
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty cool. There are 2 styles of just the standard pop socket. There's the long one, which I have on this Gig Gab thing. And then there's just the round one with Mac Geek Gab. I actually like this one better because it's easier to grab it to take it off. Which I do. I leave my wallet in my car. And when I need to bring a wallet with me, I just pop this one off, pop the wallet on, and Bob's your uncle. There you go. Good to go. I need to not forget to put that in my car. Otherwise, I'm going to have a problem later. But they make cool ones too. Like there's this space themed one, and you can get them within. Yeah, they're fun. But if you don't like that, if, for example, you would like to have something that is on your phone full time to do that, the O Snap is absolutely my favorite. This is it. You can see it here how thin it is. It's so thin that MagSafe will charge through it, which I find really cool. So, and it's got a little. It just picks right up out of there, and you can hold the thing, and then it just pops right down. MagSafe charges through it. I can put my MagSafe wallet on top of this, and it will hold.
Wow.
So this thing's pretty cool. This is the O Snap Model 4, which is what just came out this year. And I'll put links in the show notes to all of these things. But I had the version 3 on my iPhone that I put on at CES last year. It is still on my case. You can put this on your phone directly, or you can put it on a case. I put it on a case at CES last year. It is still on that iPhone's case. I just don't have that iPhone anymore. My son inherited that iPhone from me, and he kept it with the case and the O Snap, and he loves it. And it's cool because it can also, if I do this right, and I'm not looking at it, so I'm going to look at it. There it is. It will stand up and work as a stand for your phone as well. It's got a little clip in there. So, and it can stand either way. It's, it's got, it spins around. So that's the O Snap. What else do we have here? There's another fun one that I found. Again, MagSafe. Love the MagSafe. This one is from Moft, M-O-F-T, and it's an origami style case. And if I'm good enough, there we go. You can flip it around. It will stand. You can flip it open and put your hand through it to hold your phone. I put it on my phone. There's no reason we have to do this as though there's no phone here. So it folds pretty flat, and then it's got its origami. And of course, it can sit your phone this way or this way, and otherwise it sits flat. And and it has I'm trying to think if I can show this. Yeah. This lifts up. You can it's a wallet too. You can put a couple of cards in there as well. So not as many cards as the pop socket, But you could easily put your ID and a credit card in there if you wanted there in the MOFT one. While we're on the subject of wallets, I guess actually there's one more thing from our friends at Spec. Spec made the case that's on my phone. You can see that this case has a little indent here. This is for Spec's Click Lock with MagSafe. So when we put normal MagSafe on, like this pop socket, we can, with a little bit of effort, we can bring it askew. And it doesn't really, it kind of sits in there, but it doesn't lock in. Well, Spec made something called Click Lock. And when you put it on your phone, it locks in and you can't move it. It actually pulls a little magnet out of the middle of whatever the device is. I've got a Click Lock wallet. This is their Click Lock stand, handle, whatever you want it to be. They tell me that they use this, spinning it this way, hang their phone, and now it's a perfect continuity camera mount for the top of your Mac. So this is the Spec, what do they call this? The Standy Grip. And then of course the wallet from Spec as well has this the magnet that kind of the Click Lock thing. And you move it around and you can kind of, I don't know if you can hear it. I'm on a pretty tight microphone, but when you pop it in, it locks. And now I can't move this back and forth. I can pull it off, of course, but that's how those work. Any thoughts, questions while we're talking about this? I've got more things to show.
Dave, one quick question. Does the
Yeah.
MOFT case allow you to charge the phone while it's on?
No. The only one that will, I'll state the obvious. You can plug a cable into the phone with the MOFT case on. And I say that not because you were confused, but just in case anyone else is. But the only one that will charge MagSafe through it is that OSnap that I've found. So, yeah. And you might be able to get Qi to charge through it, Qi 1, but it's going to lose a lot to heat through that MOFT case. It's kind of it's not leather, but it kind of has that plasticky leather feel to it. So it's pretty well insulating. And I don't think you'd want to do that. You kind of want something that's just going to pass without a lot of resistance and heat. So, and of course with MagSafe, you need something, even a case that's not like, you'll see this case has a mag ring in it. That's the only reason this case works with MagSafe. If it did not have that ring, again, you could probably charge through it, but MagSafe would not stick to the magnet in your phone with this piece of plastic here. You need something to orient the MagSafe, if that makes sense. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
One was origami, then when there was like a piece of paper.
Yeah, origami. You're right. Yeah.
Who makes that?
MOFT, MOFT. I will put. In fact, I'll take a second here and put links for all the things we just talked about in the show notes. But that's the MOFT one.
Yeah, that's intriguing the best.
The nice part about this is we each get to have what we like the best, and because they're all MagSafe now, you don't have to pick one that just goes with your case, right? They're all MagSafe. Kind of makes everything universal in a sense. That's that, and here is finally the MOFT one, which is, they're all about $30, so more than you'd want to spend, but about what you probably would expect to spend. I don't know. While we're on I mentioned MagSafe. One thing that was very prevalent at CES was Qi 2. So Qi is the wireless charging that we have seen on our iPhones and other devices. Technically, our Apple Watches are Qi-ish for a long time. MagSafe added the magnetic ring that we just talked about
Mhm.
to Qi. So it aligns the phone perfectly with the charger so that you get maximum transfer, minimal heat loss. There's still going to be some heat loss, but and of course it lets it stick right on your phone. Qi 2 takes MagSafe and integrates it into the Qi standard. I'm oversimplifying it. They didn't actually take MagSafe, although Apple worked with the Qi standards group, whichever group that is. I can't remember off the top of my head, but Apple worked with them to help get there. But now it's a standard across devices more than just iPhones. And there's two good things about that. Number one, people that make Qi 2 compatible accessories are making them for markets beyond Apple. So we'll see more and more of these devices out there. The second good thing is you don't have to pay the Apple tax. The bad news is you have to pay the Qi 2 tax, but the Qi 2 tax is less than the Apple tax. Those 3-in-1 stands that you get that have you can put your, on your bedside table, you can put your phone on it with MagSafe, you put your watch on it, and then it's got a little pad for your AirPods or whatever. That's why they call them 3-in-1. Those, if they are truly MagSafe, if they're just magnetic and it's some off-brand Chinese company, you can get it for about $30, but it won't charge at full speed. If it's MagSafe and it's got a Apple Watch puck on it, you're going to pay $150 for those. And the reason is those manufacturers are into Apple for $36 worth of parts before they even think about designing their device. The watch puck, the MagSafe, all of it, $36 worth of parts to Apple. They won't tell you this. In fact, when I say this to them, they're like, well, we can't acknowledge that. I'm like, I know, but trust me on this, that no one disagrees with me either. It's $36. If you're fortunate enough as a manufacturer to get placement and shelf space in an Apple store, if you have paid them this tax, you get a better margin at the Apple store. So they give a little bit back to you, but not everybody gets placement in the Apple store. The Qi 2 thing, well, let's talk about my favorite thing from CES is this from Anker. It is called the MagGo wireless charging station. So it's small. It's not the lightest thing in the world, but it's light enough that I'm totally willing to travel with it. And it has a Qi 2 pad, which means it is a magnetic pad right there on it. So it will charge my phone. But wait, I said 3-in-1. So it will lift up like this and sit on your bedside table. So you've got MagSafe there. You have a Qi pad for your AirPods here. And oh, by the way, you can twist it this way and get into standby mode, which is nice to be able to have. But I did say 3-in-1. And so, yes, you charge your watch hanging off the back here. It all sits there. It's $110. So not 150, also not 30, but it comes with a USB-C cable that plugs in with a right angle, which I really like, and a 45-watt charger. So it's not inexpensive. It's Anker. You're getting quality, but this thing, I love this thing. It's really funny. For those of you who listen to Mac Geek Gab, you'll know the episode before CES, someone had written in and asked, what's the best travel, essentially asking for this, what's the best 3-in-1 travel charger? And both Pilot Pete and I were like, yeah, look, when you're traveling, you don't want to risk something being askew on your, MagSafe thing. And so you don't want to use MagSafe while you're traveling. Just use cables. They're reliable. They're fast, all of that stuff. They gave me this thing the second night of CES, and away went my cables. And I used this for the rest of the trip, and I plan to use it in Mexico. I used it in my hotel. I had to go to Connecticut this weekend and used it in my hotel there too. So it made a liar out of me, and I couldn't be happier. So
Who's the manufacturer?
that is Anker, Anker, and I am putting a link in the in the show notes now, or in the the show notes. My apologies. This is the chair I sit in when I do Mac Geek Gab. Old habits die hard.
Hey, Dave, as far as charging, how good of a job does it do as far as quickly charging devices?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's Qi 2, so it hits all of those standards. It's a 15-watt charger for your phone. It's a fast charger. I used my Apple Watch Ultra on it while I was in Vegas, and it charged right up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it does a great job, is really what it is. I say that it does 15-watt charging. That's true. Qi 2 will actually support a little bit faster than that. And Mophie has a battery pack that will charge faster than 15. They can't quite advertise it yet because of some questions with the Qi 2 consortium, whoever they are, but it will do it. We've tested it. So
Is there any issues with it being charging too fast for the battery?
no, look,
Question.
it's a good question. The official answer from everybody is that the iPhone will manage the charge, right? It will only pull as much power as it deems safe. And that includes the iPhone factoring in the heat and all of that good stuff. So no, it won't overdo it. However, charging on Qi does cause your iPhone, and therefore the battery inside your iPhone, to heat up more than it would if you plugged a cable in, because Qi or MagSafe, any kind of wireless charging, does have a heat loss component, and the heat isn't actually lost. It's energy loss converted into heat. So heat loss is one of these misnomers. It's heat generation that you are paying for. And it heats up your battery. And so, yes, probably over a 5 to 10 year period, you would notice a marked difference in the battery life of an iPhone that was never charged on MagSafe versus one that was always charged on MagSafe. The reality, though, is most of us don't keep our iPhone batteries for 5 to 10 years. And you can change out an iPhone battery with Apple for what is it, $60 or $70 or something. So, and that, as a tangent, that is something that will often make a difference. If your phone is down to 80% of its battery lifetime capacity, which you can look up in settings battery, and I will walk us there in iOS 17. On settings battery, you will see battery health and charging. And the first line there is maximum capacity. I have no idea if my camera is focusing on this, but that maximum capacity, if that gets down into the low 80s, there is a good chance that phone will be operating a little more slowly. CPU wise, it will be throttling its own CPU so as not to overtax the battery that is now getting weaker. We've heard from plenty of people with, iPhones 12 and iPhones 11 that have gone to Apple, swapped out the battery for whatever it is, that $60 or $70 fee. And it feels like they got a brand new phone. Their phones got faster, all of those things. So that is something to bear in mind as our phones get older. My phones never are allowed to my phones get older, just not when I'm using them, because I have this job that forces me to buy new iPhones every year. So, that's how it goes. Where are we here on things? Oh, well, while we're on the subject of iPhones, and since I lived in Austin and I know how big the mosquitoes can get, I don't like when my arm or my leg or whatever itches because of a mosquito bite. And we've learned that the itching happens because the poison from the mosquito having bit you is still kind of processing in there. Mm-hmm. And you can cook the crap out of that and stop the process, right? You can boil the poison essentially. And there's a company called Heat It that makes this handy little thing that goes on your keychain. And this one isn't out yet, but it will be. This is really the thing. And you can see it's got a little USB-C port. This is the thing that's not out. There's an Android one with a USB-C. There's an iPhone one with Lightning. This is the iPhone one for USB-C. It's coming. They promise. You run their app on your phone. You plug this into your phone, and then you'll see it lights up. And when you tell the app, cook the mosquito bite, you put it on there, and it will cook it for you in about 10 seconds. It's gonna hurt. Trust me on this. But then the itching is gone. So,
Wow.
yeah. Yeah. It's a pretty good little thing. And this is also going to Mexico with me, although we're going to be at a resort, and I think they spray for mosquitoes to the point where it probably affects the way I think for a week, but that's okay. I'm going to be
As we grown.
What's that?
As we grown.
As we grown. There you go. Heat it. And I will put a link to this in the show notes too.
Good.
All right. So
Dave, how long after you get bitten do you have to apply that device?
you can still feel it itching. Once the itching stops, the device isn't going to help you anymore.
Okay, so you don't have to get it within the first like 15 seconds or for 2 minutes or anything like that.
Oh no. No. When later that night when you're, driving yourself crazy, you're like, aha, did I bring that thing? The worst part about these is losing them. You can buy these as like not this, but they sell a device that does the same thing as a standalone unit, right? And it's got batteries and you put it in. I have no idea where mine is. So my guess is a year from now, I'm going to say, I have no idea where mine is, but right now I know where this is. But it does have a little loop to put on a keychain or something. I don't have keys anymore, so I don't know what to do about that. But I'm gonna find somewhere to put it that hopefully persists. Hopefully I won't outsmart myself and put it somewhere that I never remember. All right. Yeah. Can I take a detour and talk about cables? Because we did some digging I know you were talking about cables, Glenn, and it reminded me of the questions that I had about USB and Thunderbolt cables, specifically after I saw a stupid YouTube video by the How It Works guys or whatever. Most of the time, I really like what they do. I have no idea what happened with this particular video, but they worked with a company that had essentially a CAT scan machine for cables, and they analyzed Apple's $160 Thunderbolt 4 cable, right? And they showed all the cool little things in it. And then they showed another cable that didn't have any of this cool tech and any of that. And the problem was that they compared Apple's $160 Thunderbolt 4 cable to some off Chinese brand Amazon sold cable for $6 that didn't even claim to have the same capabilities. It wasn't Thunderbolt 4. It wasn't even USB 4. Wow. And it made me really wonder, like, well, is there a functional difference between Apple's cable and other things? And so I have some Thunderbolt 4 docks. I've got some Thunderbolt 3 docks. I've got some displays that run over Thunderbolt. I've got some displays that run over USB-C, but need a certain amount of speed. And so I bought all kinds of cables that, unlike how stuff works, guys, the cables I bought all said that they were going to do the things that I wanted them to do. And they were all very different prices. I found that functionally, in terms of like plug it in and does it work? And does the computer see it as Thunderbolt or not? USB 4 and Thunderbolt are indistinguishable in terms of what the computer and the device see go between them. They are very distinguishable when I am looking at the dollar amount that is charged for these things, especially the USB 4 cables that aren't certified by the USB consortium, all of which worked. The 2-meter Cable Matters USB 4 cable, it's advertised as 20 gigabits per second, which is not full speed, is only $20, and it works great. The OWC Thunderbolt 3 cable advertised as 40 gigs, is well, I guess we should say the OWC Thunderbolt 4 cable advertised as 40 gigs because that's what you can buy today. 2 meters, $60, really $57. I bought a Lurai USB 4 cable, advertised 40 gigabits per second, $28. So half the price of a Thunderbolt 4 cable, and they work like every device I plugged into them could not tell that there was a different type of cable there. USB 4 and Thunderbolt, at least for what we tested, are the same. Now, is there a world where you could do all kinds of testing and really find a difference? Maybe. But in terms of just cables that you're going to buy to plug in a drive and you're good to go, USB 4 works fine. So
let me
I
ask
will.
a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do I have this right? You're saying that any USB 4 or Thunderbolt 4 cable, it really don't matter what one I use. They're all going to go fast enough for whatever two things I'm connecting to each other. There's no meaningful difference. Is that what you're trying to say?
As long as the cable is advertised, when the speeds are advertised the same, a Thunderbolt 4 cable will go 40 gigabits. A USB 4 cable might only be advertised to 20 gigabits as opposed to 40. You need to look at the specs on the cable, but like
you pay attention to the advertised speed, and you don't care whether they call it USB 4 or Thunderbolt. You pay attention only to the advertised speed, and if the speed is fast enough for what you want to do, you're golden.
That is exactly what I'm telling you.
Now, if the devices are capable of going faster than your cable, and you use a cable that's slowing them down, will it still work, but at the slower speed?
Yeah. Yes. In fact, when I tested it, that Cable Matters cable that was only rated at 20 gigabits, it only worked at 20 gigabits. Like the rating was correct, which I wanted to confirm, right? Because it was like, well, it's USB 4. Why does it only say 20 gigabits? Are they lying? Nope, they weren't lying. It's only 20 gigabits. It was fine. But
so you can use a lesser cable if you don't care about the lower data rate.
Correct. That's been my experience. Like I said, this was all just experiential testing. We weren't, I mean, I did some benchmarks to make sure that, you know, even though the computer reported 40 gigabits, is it actually going to send data at that speed? The answer was yes. So we did some empirical testing as well, but we didn't do exhaustive testing. So we did 2 of the 3 E's. We did experiential and empirical, but not exhaustive. So
Dave, I take it you were looking at data transfer rates as opposed to charging rates. Is that correct?
Both. So charging rates, some of these cables, USB 4 can go up to 240 watts. And I don't have any devices that will pull 240 watts, but they all would pass data just fine. And also important, they all would pass video signals up to 8K just fine, which is a difficult thing. If you're using one of those extension monitors, you know, the portable, like 15-inch monitors that have become all the rage recently, not just every USB-C cable will work with those. Even a USB-C cable that'll do like 100 watts of power won't necessarily send a data signal to that monitor. All of these would. So anything rated USB 4, anything rated Thunderbolt 4 would, but the USB 4 is way less expensive.
Dave, did you test different lengths of cable or were they all similar lengths?
No, I tested some 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter cables, and they all worked as advertised.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a great question. No, it was a fun experiment to do, and it you know, I started doing the experiment. It's just like, crap, I don't want to buy a Thunderbolt 4 cable and pay that price every time I need a cable to do a thing. And of course, then doing this test, I spent way more on cables than I ever would have if I just bought the Thunderbolt 4 cable that I needed for whatever that specific purpose was. But all in the name of education. So, you know, I guess it's all a tax write-off. So, you know. Any other questions while we're here?
Dave, is there a device that you can buy and you can plug a cable into the thing and it'll tell you what those rates and so forth would be? I'm thinking of something like a Klein Instruments tool that I bought recently because I needed to make some Ethernet cables.
Yep.
So I made some Cat5 and Cat6 cables of various lengths and so forth. I put my own, I wired them and put the ends on and crimped them and all that. And then I used the Klein tools test tool to make sure that I had continuity.
Yep.
Do you have a tool that would function, that would have that function that you could plug these USB-C and Thunderbolt cables into?
I am certain one exists, and so I started looking on Amazon to see what is out there, and there are USB cable testers. I have not used one, but you know, if you find a USB-C cable tester, look to see what it's testing for, and you probably can. It looks like you can find something that would do that. Yeah. I'll put that search link in there, and you can take that and run with it. I do have a couple of things like this. I'm trying to see if I can find the one. These are kind of fun to have, so I will see if I can share my screen here. But you know, something like this, where it's a pass-through device, and it tells you in real time what the voltage is, what the amperage is, and you know how many watts have been sent across it over time, which can be kind of fun to look at, and handy too. In fact, I have I'll find them. Hang on. I have some cables that have that in the ends of them. This isn't the one that I have, but this will suffice to kind of show you what I have. The cable that I usually charge my laptop on in the living room is something like this, where I see what the real-time usage is. So I can look at the cable while it's charging and know, all right, is it in because your laptop won't charge at full speed the whole time. It slows down the closer it gets to 100. And so I can look at mine and say, all right, it's pulling, 50 watts of power. It's pretty close to empty. But if I see that it's pulling, 15 watts of power, it's like, it's probably at 70%. I'm good. I'll pull it off charge. I'm good to go. So this is a really nice thing. And it's also nice to just plug it in and know that power is passing across it, which can be nice for troubleshooting as well. So for charging, these are the cables that I use just because I'm Dave. I'm a nerd. I like to know things. So
computer nerd.
Sometimes with a Z, Art.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? I got plenty of other things we can talk about here, but happy to entertain questions too. So,
did you see anything else interesting at CES?
Yeah, there were a few things that made. We did an episode out there after a couple of days that we wound up titling "The Tech That Fuels Other Tech," because some of what you see at CES are the things that I've showed you, like things that we can buy or that we would use and want to buy, the finished product, if you will. But then there's also the things that just sort of feed into the device, eventually feed into the devices that we would buy. And one of them was a company called Ambient Photonics. And I'm going to hit my screen share button like I do during the show, like that's going to help. They make solar cells, but these are glass solar cells. And what's interesting about these is the amount of power that you get per square inch. They showed a keyboard that pulled just as much power as the, available in the market Logitech solar powered keyboard. Now the Logitech keyboard has solar cells all the way across its width. Like there's an extra row above the top of the keyboard that is all just solar cells. And it needs that in order to keep itself charged. They
Mhm.
showed a keyboard with one of their things on it, and the cells were, it was 2 of what you see in this picture here. So it was just tiny, and it was off to the side, and it was able to, they were able to make the keyboard much more sort of ergonomic and aesthetically pleasing, because their cells, they're made of glass as opposed to plastic, and it makes a big difference. So, the idea of being able to put solar cells in a remote and actually keep it charged is something that doesn't work with the cells that are out there right now. So, being like, and these kinds of things always interest me, because it's like, oh, like something soon potentially could come with this. Now, it was probably 2018, 2019. It was 2018 was the first time I saw the wireless charging that's not like proximity charging, like wireless charging of a remote control from 10 feet away, essentially using microwaves that are beamformed like our Wi-Fi is. And we still don't have products with that. So, these things take time to make it to market. And sometimes they fail and never make it to market. But I, this one, they actually had things working with it. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Yeah, interesting stuff. There was another company in that same kind of vein called Idyllic Technology, and they were pitching themselves as the future of barcodes. And their spiel was, when you're doing mass processing with barcodes, if there are damage to the code, damage to the paper that the code was printed on, or something in the way, it gums up the works, especially, I was there with Pete, who flies for FedEx. And so they were like, oh yeah, FedEx is a perfect example. They'll just move packages down a conveyor, and they're all sorted by barcode, and that's how they put them on the planes, and off they go. But if a package's barcode gets damaged, which happens to like 15% of the packages, then it requires a human to look at it and process it and maybe put a new code on it or something, right? So it slows down the works. You can use RFID, of course, but RFID is super expensive, way more expensive than printing a piece of paper that's a sticker and putting a barcode on something. Their thing is about a penny per code, and it's passive. It's not even RFID, which is also sort of passive. It is a passive technology that uses radio waves. And the way that it works is their little stickers, and they can go inside of things because they don't need to be right on the surface. They need to be relatively close. You can't have too much insulation, but radio waves are sent at these things, and they resonate at a unique frequency, almost like a unique song, if you will. So it'll be a unique set of frequencies that is unique to that particular code. And you send the radio waves at it, you receive the frequencies, aka the unique song, back, and you know what's there. Doesn't matter. It can be inside the box. It costs a penny to make. And so they're talking about that as the future of identification, the future of barcodes, which, so nerdy, in my opinion, but that's what we go out there to do. So like, nerdy. Again, same vein, although there are products where you could buy this if you want to spend the money, is Wi-Fi 7. Those are out there in the market. You will pay a steep premium if you're going to put Wi-Fi 7 in your home. A single access point is going to be $600, $700, $800. If you're going to do a mesh system, you're pushing $2,000 to do that. Yeah. So most of us are not going to put these in our home, but it's out there. And in time, like everything, I expect the prices will come down. It's using the 6 gigahertz range. But what's cool about Wi-Fi 7 as opposed to Wi-Fi 6 is not only does it use a different signaling methodology that allows it to go faster over the same radio frequencies, but it will use all available bands simultaneously. So instead of it being, well, does it work? Is this device communicating over 2.4 or 5 gigahertz or 6 gigahertz? The answer is yes. It's communicating over all of them. And that's how you get this that's part of how you get this massive throughput. Where it can be really handy right now is if you have a home where you need a mesh system, but for whatever reason, you have a lot of congestion, right? Network congestion of, from neighbors or other devices.
Yep.
6 gigahertz is fairly open. And so you use Wi-Fi 7, and you can use Wi-Fi 6E for this, but Wi-Fi 7 is going to be even faster. Even if your client devices don't support Wi-Fi 7, if your mesh points do, they talk to each other using Wi-Fi 7. This is a fairly uncongested realm, especially the 6 gigahertz portion of it. And you wind up getting decent bandwidth between your mesh points, which means that your mesh system for your client devices works well, because even if the mesh points are speaking Wi-Fi 7, it's all backwards compatible. So when your client devices connect, they can connect at Wi-Fi 5 or Wi-Fi 6 and everything's fine. And yes, $1,500 is a lot to spend on a mesh system, but you're looking at someone that earlier this year spent $1,000 to wire 2 Ethernet drops into his house. So when you start, right, well, I mean, I needed to have electricians at my house for a day and, snaking cable in the walls and doing all the things and cleaning it all up and making it look good and all that stuff. And so, if this suffices and it's less than it would cost you to do that, well, then maybe that's the way to go. So, Wi-Fi 7 rather. There's quite a few companies. Eero's got it. TP-Link's got it. Netgear's got it. I'm really interested in checking out the TP-Link Archer series with the Wi-Fi 7, because it seems like I'm a nerd. I've been a big fan of the Synology routers for a long time because they have a great interface that gives you lots of features and nerdy features. And it seems like TP-Link is planning to compete with this with their Archer series in the Wi-Fi 7 realm. So I'm eager to check those out. So, any questions before we move on?
Dave, other things being equal, do we know whether Wi-Fi 7 would give you a better wireless backhaul if you have things like plaster walls and other sort of barriers to transmission?
Plaster walls tend to be kind of the Achilles heel of all radio waves. So I don't think it's going to make a difference. No. What we have found, if you're trying to use mesh with plaster walls, is think line of sight. And if you've got, it's easier if I was like drawing on the screen or something, but if you've got a device here, if you've got your router here, and I'll do it like this. If you got your router here and a device that needs to get to it here, but there's a wall in the middle, but there's a door up here, what you're going to want to do is, if your router's here, you put a mesh point here that gets the signal from the router, and then you put a mesh point here that gets the signal through the doorway, and then this mesh point can talk to your device down here. That's really the best way we've found to do that, is think line of sight. And I mean, you don't necessarily need to buy, 3 mesh points in that scenario. You might be able to, cheat and use one with a diagonal from here to here or something, but start thinking line of sight if you have plaster walls, because that lath and plaster, I know there's not metal in it, but it sure acts like a Faraday cage. And then there are some walls that have metal in them and they actually act like a Faraday cage, but yeah.
My house is very much like what you described, a Faraday cage, because the plaster walls in here were made with a wire mesh on the walls and the ceilings, and it plays havoc with cell phones and with Wi-Fi. So I went and got, about 6 months ago, I guess, I got the Wi-Fi 6, Netgear, Nighthawks,
Yeah.
And I've got enough of them in the house now, enough, satellites that I've fixed the problem, so to speak, I overwhelmed the.
You've engineered around it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the only way I could do it. I tried one time just getting one super point and just blast a signal from high on the second floor down to the rest of the house, and that didn't work.
No, it's not going to work.
No,
Yeah. Laugh and plaster is you have more success than you do with the with the what you have, which is the wire mesh with plaster. Yeah. That's the worst in terms of Wi-Fi.
But the 2.4 gig actually goes through it better.
Yeah.
It's slower. But the 5 gig is much faster, but gets blocked so easily. So it is. You have to be creative about how
that's it. That's exactly it. You have to be creative. And the easiest way to be creative is line of sight, because then you know there's nothing in the way. Whereas otherwise you're kind of guessing as to, well, how's it going to go through this wall? And like you found, trial and error is yet another way of doing it.
What speed Ethernet cables did you run? Did you go Ethernet 6A or 7?
These were 6. Yeah.
6. Okay.
Yep. Cat 6. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I know Cat 6 is probably good for 10 gig if it's less than like 150 feet.
Exactly. Yeah. This was in my house and it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've got Cat 6 throughout my house because I worked in IT and I had access to the cables. I wired up my son's grade school, and I used the Cat 6 cables as backhaul for the mesh network.
So that's really the best way to do it. It's not the easiest, but it is the best. So yeah. Another thing that I saw and I was happy to see at CES was a company called Flick, F-L-I-C. This is a company I encountered at Macworld Expo. So that tells you how long ago that was. And they make little buttons that you they are meant to control your smart home. Now, back when I first encountered Flick, these buttons were Bluetooth and they only worked if your phone was within Bluetooth range. So you'd run the little Flick app on your phone. Your phone had to be able to control the smart device. The Flick button would trigger your phone would trigger the device, and it was fine. And, you can see there's these little things. Well, now they have a couple of different things where they've got a Flick twist, which allows you can control volume or brightness, but you can also have different sections of the dial mean different things. But they have a Flick hub now, and that changes everything, because the Flick hub, you put one of these in your house and now all of your Flick devices work independently of your phone, which really changes the game. And I've been playing with this since I got back from CES, because I didn't even know about the Flick hub, which is a couple of years old. But if you want to do a little more with your smart home without literally replacing the switches in your walls, this might be a nice way to do it. We've got one of these to control some of our outdoor lights, which don't have a switch. And so tap that, and I've linked it together with all the various smart home glue that we have with our, the Amazon and everything else. And it works out really well. So I will put, of course, a link to this in the wherever the chat is. The chat disappeared for me. So whenever I get the chat back, I will put it in there. So Flick, F-L-I-C. Yeah. Fun. I will detach the chat so that I can see it while I'm screen sharing. I like this product because of what it is. We all know about Find My. Yeah. We've got AirTags in all of our things. AirTags don't necessarily fit the right form factor for all of the things that we need. And so there are some third parties that make AirTag or Find My capable devices that are, say wallet sized, which is a nice thing to have. The folks at Chipolo made this one, but the problem is when they made this batch of them, they realized they weren't as black as they were supposed to be. In fact, they're more of a charcoal gray. And somebody said, well, we should throw them out, make another batch, call it shrinkage. And somebody else said, why? They function just fine. And so they embraced it. And I don't know if, I think you can see they embossed the in cursive, the phrase perfectly imperfect on them, and they sell them for $35. And it is a Find My capable thing. It's super thin, obviously would fit fine in your wallet, fit fine in like a purse or a backpack is really nice because you can kind of tuck it into a little pocket somewhere and it's done. I've got one of these in my suitcase and, $35, perfectly imperfect from Chipolo. So they really embraced that whole thing. They had a perfectly imperfect, display at CES, which I thought was nice, but $35 for the little thing. So
are these going to run out once that production batch is sold out, or are they going to make more?
That's a really good question. I asked them that, and at CES they didn't know. They do make what they call the card spot, which is what these were supposed to be. So you can still get them, and there's other companies that make them too. I will dig into my bag of show and tell here. Our friends at Rolling Square, I'm pulling this up. Rolling Square. It is called the Air Card. Yep. Because I just want to pull up the price. Oh, they say it's not out yet. Pre-orders were paused. Amazing.
Question.
Yeah.
How does that thing get power? AirTag has a little watch battery in it that you replace.
It's got a battery in it, and it is. I don't believe it is replaceable, based on everything I can see. However,
so the product's junk when the battery wears out.
Yeah. I think I want to say that I'm looking at the Chipolo one. Sorry, that's the Chipolo one. I'm looking at the Rolling Square one here. And I thought they told me that theirs, it looks cool, had a replaceable battery, but I don't know that it does. So this is the Rolling Square one, which is called the Air Card. But I don't think it has a replaceable battery either. 1 year battery life on this. Oh, yeah, they are. Okay, I was correct on this. So the Rolling Square one does have replaceable batteries. And I will put that link in the show notes too. Show notes. I'm just going to call them the show notes. We're going to go with it. It's going to be okay. They're the notes for this show. But yeah, this is the Air Card, and you can replace the battery. They're little thin batteries, and you can replace them yourself. So
are the batteries proprietary to that company?
I don't think so. I think they are pretty standard batteries. Yeah. And let me make sure I am not lying to you about the Air Card, because this one might, or the Chipolo one. Let's look. I have the link. I got it from the show notes. Let's see. Battery. Nope. I'm looking in the wrong spot. Battery. Yeah. The Chipolo one is not replaceable. They have a renew and recycle program where you can buy a new one for half the price. So there you go. Yeah. Any other questions? How long are we going here? How late does everybody want to stay up?
You'd be surprised how late this group would stay.
I I did not share my ground rules at the beginning of this meeting, but no one has broken them. There is one ground rule. I suppose there are others, but there's one that I know of. And that is if anyone shares what's going on with the Bruins game while we're doing this, I'm going to leave because I'm going to go watch the rest of the Bruins game, although it's probably close to over. So, but no one has ruined the Bruins game for me. So I'm good. I'm happy to go back and watch it on time delay. One thing, this is going to sound crazy, but I have had one of these for a little while and I love it. It is, oh, where is it? Yeah, there it is. It is the Dreo Smart Humidifier. Having a humidifier that is controllable via, I mean, I control it with an app that's, you know, so it's a Wi-Fi humidifier. But what's really nice is I have this thing in my bedroom. I have it start on warm mist mode 2 hours before I go to bed each night, which is what it takes to get our bedroom up to the right humidity. And then when we go to sleep, it changes into sleep mode, which is all the lights go off and it's just in cold mist mode and it stays that way until 9 a.m. The nice part about it is I'm not just forgetting to turn it off and running the humidifier all day, every day. And the tank then therefore winds up lasting me like 3 days instead of 1. So I don't have to change the tank every day. And it's smart enough. You know, I tell it I want the humidity to be whatever, 50% in our bedroom. And when it gets to 50%, it stops and then turns back on again when it needs to. And it warns me. I get a little notification on my phone when it says, hey, I ran out of water, which is really great because otherwise I don't know that the stupid thing ran out of water. So it's, it's one of those, things. It's just,
you live in Colorado, don't you, Dave?
I live in New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Okay.
Yeah.
Got you mixed up with one of your colleagues.
Yeah.
I was going to say, problem here in Central Texas is we have to have dehumidifiers.
You need the opposite. That's correct.
I'm lucky
That's
to
right.
get it down to 50%.
You know, there was a company at CES that reminded me of a friend of mine who was a client when I was in Austin. It's this guy named Mike Morgan. He wasn't there at CES. At least I don't think he was. But he lived out in Dripping Springs. And they were greenhouse people. They actually wound up selling their whole greenhouse business to HEB. He runs a recording studio still out there in Dripping Springs. But he created this they learned about water filtration and got really good at it because when you run a greenhouse and they were selling all of the plants that you would like flowers and everything that you would buy at HEB back in the mid to late 90s were all from him and his wife. They ran the business. And then HEB wound up acquiring that business from him. But, they learned a lot about water filtration. And so at their house, they had a series of dehumidifiers that they ran the water that they pulled from them through this, passive filtration system. All of the water that they drank and cooked with in their house was pulled from the air. The only water that they, pumped out of their well was for showers. And he said, we could actually do that too, but we haven't gotten there yet. There was a company at CES marketing those types of things. So using your dehumidifier as your water source for your drinking water. So perhaps something to look into. I don't have their name right in front of me, but
hey, Dave.
Yeah.
Question about the humidifier, their smart humidifier. How good is it at, I don't know if you can speak to this, but how good is it at maintaining that desired level of humidity?
Amazing.
And
I've been shocked. I have a sensor on the other side of the room and it gets it up to that. And then it just kind of, it kind of does this a little bit as you would expect, but yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
Well, I asked because you see in the background my guitars.
Right.
Now here in St. Louis, we have a similar issue to Texas. I mean, the Mississippi Valley is very humid, but during the winter when it's colder, I need to keep especially my acoustic guitars humidified. And
Yep.
I've got just a regular old humidifier here. And so it's like, it would be great to have something like that. So that's why.
Yeah, no, I've been really impressed with it. Yeah. And here in New Hampshire, it's not, humidity wise, it's not all that different from Texas. When we aren't running the heat in our house, it's very humid here. You need central air here, just like you do in Texas, but here you need it more for the humidity than for the heat. So you need a multi-stage system. It's a whole thing. But yeah, in the winter when our heat's on, obviously dries things out. So, yep. Yeah.
And I'm going to assume that smart humidifier requires distilled water.
No.
No?
No.
Can use, even if you have hard tap water, you can just pour that in it?
I just pour it in there. Yeah. Yeah.
You definitely have hard water?
No, I mean, we do, and I have a filter on it that pulls some of that out. It's a passive filter, not an active filter. So, but yeah.
Well, if you're able to do that and not get a layer of calcium carbonate all over everything, then that's wonderful.
Yeah. I've had it running for several months and it's been great. Yep. Trying to think about what else to share with all of you. You know what? I'm going to do this because it's fun. This was at CES. I was surprised to see it at CES. I would expect it more at NAMM for musicians, but we all like to listen on headphones sometimes. And some of us like to have, custom fit earphones. And most of us don't want to have to pay for custom fit earphones. And unless you can convince manufacturers to send them to you, you have to pay for something. And so finding the way of doing that is the least expensive path is key. And I keep pointing to these. These are truly 100% custom fit. These are from a company called All Claire. That's not what I was going to talk about. They make super high quality custom fit in-ear monitors at the lowest price I have found. We recommend them on our Gig Gab podcast all the time. So I will put a link to that in since I happen to mention it, but it's ALCLAIR. But what I wanted to mention here is I will find it somewhere there. There it is a company called Waves Custom, WAVS Custom, and they make mostly custom fit earphones. The very tip of it is what they would call universal, and it seals there. But as you can see, they look like your custom fit in-ear monitors. What's cool about these is you use the Face ID scanner of your iPhone to scan your own ears. So you don't have to go. Yeah. You don't have to go to an audiologist. You don't have to go to anybody. You do this yourself. You send the scans to them. If they need you to do it again, do it again. And then you order your ears. Well, I guess you would order for first, but price wise, come on, where's the there we go. So starting at $299, which I know is a lot of money for custom fit earphones. It's and they got 50% off with a 50 code. So you get $150 for these. I would consider these the hybrid because you can see they're hiding it from us nicely. But this little tip here is actually there's a little rubber thing on it, but the rest of it is all custom fit. And it really does. I have a pair of these and they fit nicely. They also now have traditional fit in-ear monitors, which are fully customized. You might like these other ones better though. The same price, $299. And I've been super impressed with these things. At this price, you scan yourself. So most of the time, even if you can get a set of dual driver custom fit in-ear monitors for $400, that's a great price. But on top of that, you've already gone to your audiologist for somewhere between $50 and $200 to have your ears molded.
Yep.
And so this really saves a ton on that. So that's Waves Custom. So I will put that link there. Fun stuff. And they're good folks. I've known them for a long time. I was shocked to see them at one of the CES events. But
Now,
yeah.
they don't dare to call these hearing aids though, do they?
No, and they're not built to be hearing aids. They're earphones, they're headphones. They're for listening to music. Yeah, they don't have microphones in them. So they're not right. They're not taking the ambient sound and adapting it or amplifying it or anything. They are wired. I mean, they do have Bluetooth versions too, but they are taking sound from another device and putting it in your ears. And because I'm obsessed with hearing health and have been since I was 14 years old, I will share earplugs are great for protecting your hearing and are considered hearing protection devices. In-ear monitors, while capable of allowing you to protect your hearing, because, you know, on stage, let me see if I can find my my drums, or, you know, even sitting behind the drums. Or is it? Yep, there's my drum set. There you go. That's just over here. You know, they seal you off from the outside world, and so in theory protect your hearing. But they have speakers inside them, and so you can turn them up and make them as loud as or louder than it would have been if you didn't put them in. So be very careful with your hearing with earphones, please.
Are they also noise canceling?
In a passive sense, yes. You know, when these are, you know, the ones that I use while I podcast, and they are fully custom fit and they fully seal into my ear. And when I pop that in, you could try and talk to me and I probably won't hear it unless I turn the sound up, but that blocked about 35 dB. So I can barely hear myself talk, let alone what any of you are saying out of the speakers here. So, yeah.
What did you say?
What's that?
What did you say?
Huh?
I have a question for you. You're up at New Hampshire,
Yeah.
and there was a company. I haven't bought anything from these people for many years now, but Small Dog Electronics, are they still in business up there?
I know that Dawn and Happy sold the business. I don't know if it's still in business. They weren't in New Hampshire, they were in Vermont. And I totally understand why from Texas you would see them as the same thing, because there's between Massachusetts and Canada, there is basically a square piece of land. And it is split down the middle diagonally, and Vermont's on one side and New Hampshire's on the other. So, but yeah, I don't know if Small Dog is still around.
Oh, yes. I get
Okay.
emails all the time. The Vermont store or stores are still operating, and they also operate in the Florida Keys.
Okay, great.
When there are no hurricanes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Dave,
Yeah, look at that. Yep.
Dave, do you ever get over to New York State?
Yeah. Yeah.
You ever been to a little town called Binghamton?
Binghamton? Yes, I have been to Binghamton, New York. Yep.
You know what's there?
I don't know.
There's only one thing that's made that town, and it's Macintosh Laboratories.
Oh, the amplifiers.
Yes, absolutely. Seems to be a resurge of interest in Mac after all these years. They've been in business for 75 years.
Yeah.
And so I was just wondering if you'd ever been there. I went through Binghamton on my way to let me think, somewhere in Massachusetts, and I'm trying to remember where. Anyway, it's in the little, I call it a little boob that sticks down from Massachusetts. There's a little part, and there's a town in it, and I can't remember the name of the town. Anyway, I made a stop there. I went into McDonald's to get some water.
Yep.
And the water that I got was just filthy. I have never seen water served like that. So I went ahead and bought some bottled water. That was,
there you go. Yeah. Yep.
But
yeah, it looks like Small Dog is happily cranking along. Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will share one, maybe two last things, and we can keep going, but for our outdoor use, and I know you wouldn't need one part of this down in Texas, maybe in St. Louis, I don't know, is the Yarbo. This is an outdoor robot. Think of it as a robot vacuum for the outside of your house.
Oh.
It has a lawnmower attachment. It has a snowblower attachment. And the idea behind this is that it basically runs every day and just maintains your either yard or well, it's not going to run every day in snowblower mode, but in snowblower mode, it runs every hour throughout the storm. So it's never having to snowblow 2 feet of snow.
Yeah.
It's just doing, an inch or so. It goes back, charges itself, then goes back out, snowblows the next little bit. But it was built based on the rate that it snowed in that famous storm about 15 years ago in Buffalo, where they were getting, I think, 2.5 inches an hour. And this is built to keep up with that. It does have, I think, a 24-inch scoop on it. It's really only built to deal with the plow. For those of you who haven't ever lived in snow, when the snow plows come by in the street to plow the street, they leave these nice big piles at the end of your driveway that are often the most difficult thing to deal with. And it is built to be high enough to deal with those. But for the most part, it's just kind of maintaining your driveway throughout the storm or throughout the summer, or the entire year, for your leaves and your grass as well. So, and it's electric. It's got its own little charging base. It goes and plugs itself into the charger, and the same unit will do grass and snow. You just change the attachment on it. It's got a kind of its own little mini trailer hitch, so it can bring your leaf cleaner if you want, and all of that good stuff. So it's expensive. It's like, it's listed at 10 grand. It'll probably sell for about 7 or 8, but these kinds of things will come down in price. I will say, if you do not yet have a robot vacuum in your house, make that the next thing that you save for and go and get. It is life-changing. I now have 3 of them in my house. The one that does the floor where our bedroom is, goes at 8 p.m. every night and just vacuums the floor. Takes about, 45 minutes or something. I go to bed every night and the floor is freshly vacuumed. It's awesome. At 4 a.m., the other 2 floors are vacuumed. I wake up in the morning. I come down to a freshly vacuumed house. Only twice did I come down to it picking up gifts left by the dog. Once we were able to clean the vacuum and all was fine. The second time we threw it away and we were okay with that. And we bought another one. It was a terrible experience. And, but it didn't change our opinion on the benefits of having a robot vacuum. It is utterly amazing. And again, it's like the Yarbo, where you have to change the way you think about it. Yep. If you have to vacuum your house yourself, you're doing it. You tell everybody that you vacuum once a week. You really vacuum once every 2.5 to 3 weeks. And this, and with the Yarbo, or with a lawnmower, you say, okay, I'm going to mow my yard once a week or once every 2 weeks or whatever. That does it every day. The same with the vacuum. Let it do it every day. It stays ahead of it all. It's outstanding and amazing. And I like the Roborock and the what's the other brand I like? Eufy makes good ones. There are plenty of new robot vacuums coming. We saw so many of them at CES. The innovations that we saw at CES for robot vacuums were really, for me, in the roller. For any of you that have robot vacuums, that the little roller gets caught up with hair. And if you've got pets, it's worse. If you've got someone that lives in your house with long hair, it's worse. It gets and you've got to get a knife and carve the hair off of it and comb it off of it. One company has a blade in the roller that when the hair gets to a certain point, it just cuts it and sucks it into the vacuum. Another company has the shape of the roller is not uniform. It's tapered and it's built so that anything that's on it just rolls down the end of it and gets sucked in the vacuum. So it never picks it up. So yeah. Robot vacuums are outstanding. So if you don't have one, look, people that don't have robot vacuums, the first question they ask me is about dog poop. The second question they ask me is, well, why would I want one of those? I've got to empty the thing all the time. It doesn't save me anything. Listen, even if you had to empty it every day, which you don't, but even if you did, it still saves you a ton of time, right? Because it takes all of about 39 seconds to empty the thing.
Mm-hmm.
We wind up emptying our robot vacuum about once a week, and it's because it got stuck somewhere. And that's the moment where it's like, oh, I've got to pick it up and put it back on its base. It's pretty good. You definitely want one with the LiDAR sensor so that it can map your home for you and see things and truly come out. Like that's important. But you don't need one that's self-emptying. You can certainly get one. That's fine. It's nice. It's a nice convenience. But once a week, you're going to find that thing somewhere anyway. And while you're walking it back to its base, which is going to take you 12 seconds, you stop at the trash can and you dump the little thing in, you put it back at its base, and it really doesn't take a whole lot of your time at all. So robot vacuums, one of my favorite. What's that?
How is it on carpet?
Outstanding.
Yes.
We have more pets than I can count, and our carpets remain, at least every morning, are free of pet hair. By the end of the day, I'm glad that the vacuum's going to run again in the night. They've got some now that will do mopping. If you have a home where you would want mopping to happen on a regular basis, the vacuums that can also do mopping, there are two styles of them. One, you have to manually shift the device from vacuum mode to mop mode and back. Again, not a huge deal. Others are capable of doing that themselves. So it can just do your home all at once, and it will mop and vacuum in one pass. So if that's something that's important to you for your specific setup, then by all means, go ahead and do that. So
And how is it on stairs?
that's the one thing that I have not seen them do yet, which is why I have 3 of them. You don't need 3. People send me these things, and so I'm very spoiled. I lead a charmed life. So when I have 3 of them, I put them on different floors. But like when we had the one that we just threw away, most of them now, especially the ones with LiDAR sensors and specifically the ones from Roborock, they are capable of mapping multiple floors. So you can take the robot that usually runs upstairs and bring it downstairs and just tell it to run, and it will realize it's on a different floor. The first time it will map it. The second time it will identify that it's there and know where to go, and it just does its thing. So yeah.
Can they detect the dog poop and then do an end run around it?
That is the idea. And most of the time they do. The one that we wound up throwing away was one with a LiDAR sensor and all of the things. I don't know what happened. I mean, this thing, it had dog poop caked in the wells of both wheels. Like how it was as though it decided, I'm going for it. Like, I don't know how it got itself there. It just it flabbergasted me. It's like, it would have been one thing if it was just on one corner of it or something. It's like, okay, we'll wipe it off, like whatever. But this was so ingrained in the whole unit. I wish I could have watched it. Like, I wish I had a camera watching the robot vacuum.
Yep.
There was one at CES, I forget the brand name, who has a pet finder built in to the robot vacuum. So when you're not home, you grab your phone and you're like, hey, find me the cat. And it will drive around your house, and using, ML, or as we call it now, AI, pattern matching, it will, find the thing that looks like the cat, and it will shine its little camera on the cat and, be like, there's your cat. So yeah. So they do, they can identify all these things. And it makes a huge difference. We have, one of our cats loves to play with pipe cleaners. We had this cat for 2 years before we realized where we had a stash of pipe cleaners in our house. It would come up with new ones all the time. And the first round of robot vacuums that we had, twice a week, the thing would stop somewhere because a pipe cleaner, got wrapped around the roller. And now that doesn't happen anymore because the thing identifies it and it just doesn't end around. Yeah. Yeah. It does a good job. So.
Hey, I've got a question for you.
Absolutely.
I was online the other night and I was addressing something that had to do with security. Okay. And what happened, this company was advertising a little a chiclet that you could plug in. And what would happen is it would restart your computer on the operating system in the chiclet. And it would go in, it would delete all sorts of crap that you had. Do you know anything about that? If it actually works for it, uses it boots on a Linux operating system, and then it goes in and looks for crap on your drive and everything, and it will delete it, and then automatically reboot into whatever either Windows or Macintosh.
And does this work with current Macs that use?
Yes.
That have encrypted drives and all of that stuff?
Yep.
I've never heard of this. This is fascinating. I would love to learn about this thing. No.
Well, it's what happens is the thing it does immediately is it shuts down the computer.
Yep.
And reboots it into a Linux operating system.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically it should take off any kind of security that you might have on it.
Well, other than the encrypted drive, though, like once you've booted from an external drive to Linux, your drive is like, unless you get in there to decrypt it for it with your password, it like there's no go. Yeah.
Well, obviously this was, I don't know how they
however they're doing it. Sure. Yeah.
I don't know how they got around it, but just for an average person who wanted to do some kind of a security thing, it might be pretty good.
What's the name of it?
I can't remember right now. I looked for it and let me look at it. Look for it.
Yeah. Let us all know. Shoot me an email,
sure.
Feedback at macgeekgab.com.
Yep. I'll do it.
Sweet.
So you're in New Hampshire, huh?
That's where I am, as far as I know.
And I'm sure we've all learned 5 new things tonight.
That's great. That wasn't even the mandate, but it usually happens anyway.
There you
Can I
go.
ask a quick question about the podcast?
Of course.
When I go looking for it, all I've been able to find so far is audio versions. Is there a video version that you guys produce that I just haven't found, or do you not produce a video version?
There is a video version. We don't publish the video version to Apple Podcasts. The video version is published to YouTube, and the easiest way to get there, we have a redirect. Go to macgeekgab.com/YouTube. That'll get you there. We also put the video version of each episode in the show notes for that episode. So if you go to macgeekgab.com and click on, episode 1024 that came out this week, you will see the video is right there ready to play of this week's episode. And then that's true of every episode that we've done for the last 4 years. I want to say something in there. We've been doing video for about 4 years. So yeah. And we had John F. Braun back on this week for our special 1K episode. So which is crazy that we've done 1,024 episodes of that show, but here we are, 19 years and counting, almost 19 years and counting. Yeah.
And I just like to say, if you haven't listened to his podcast, it's definitely, I highly recommend it. I try to catch it every week, and you guys will learn a lot on there if you haven't listened to it before.
Absolutely.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah. I learn a lot every week. So I I feel like I get to learn the most because you know, I have to digest it all in order to produce the show. So I love it. It amazes me how much there is to learn all the time. And there's no way that any of us could ever know all of the things. I mean, our content comes as much from our community, if not more, than it does from us. It's, you know, we are the fortunate stewards is how I think of what we get to do. So yeah, it's great.
King of the VAC robos.
There you go. Yeah, there's something there. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me again. It's always a pleasure.
Well, thank you for joining us again. It's always interesting to hear what you have to share with us.
I never know how, just like the podcast, I never know how these things are going to go.
I have to tell you that you ran out the battery on my iPhone 15.
Success.
Cookie, you'll have to take a look at that recording when Robert finishes it.
Yep. Yeah, I have to watch the very end because it was just for a little while.
Like I say when we do the podcast, for somebody who didn't get to listen when we record live, don't worry, we recorded it for you. So
there you go.
Yep.
Well, it was great hearing you again. You were just so excited and so excited to listen to as well.
Amazing. Well, thank you. No, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
And I went to look up Rock Robot.
Robo Rock. Yeah, I put all
Robo
those
Rock,
links
yes.
in the meeting chat. So
Yay.
Yep, they're all there.
Yes, you've been very diligent about adding URLs.
I do it. What I was doing here, I do live when we record the show. I'm adding URLs constantly. I don't know what's wrong with me that lets me do those two things at the same time, but it is what I do. So I just let the habit kind of flow because I know how valuable those links are. Like it's super valuable to have that stuff.
I've checked your show notes several times looking for links.
Yeah. Well, if you go to macgeekgab.com, you can subscribe and then you'll get the show notes just pumped to your email every week.
I do.
Okay, good. Great. Yeah, more and more people keep subscribing because I keep having to pay MailChimp more and more money every month. So I guess that's a good thing.
Well, I think it's about time to wrap this up. Thank you again, Dave, for an excellent program this evening. Thank you, Nathan, for making those arrangements. So to the rest of you, it's time to call it quits for tonight and see you guys virtually in a couple of weeks for the coffee meeting or next month at March for the regular meeting. Y'all have a good night.